This is what you think about when you think about the word predator, a lion or a shark. But how about this? A flamboyant cuttlefish shooting out its hunting tentacles. Slowed down 8 times. This is a fast, cognitively complex, vicious predator. It doesn't have one thing a lion or a shark has: a spinal cord. This is the story of invertebrate predators. And cephalopods, like this flamboyant cuttlefish, are right at the peak of the world of invertebrate predators. Another one is a relative of this cuttlefish, which is the enigmatic Wunderpus. I filmed this animal at night off Siquijor Island in the Philippines. Now look at the hunting strategy of this octopus. Look at the rightmost tentacle, how it goes into this little crevice in the coral rubber. This is a smart animal with keen senses and with a very good idea how to feed itself. Another thing it does very cleverly, it uses the webbing around its arms to cover small areas of rubble or sand or coral reef and to trap prey animals underneath it. The prey in this case are mostly crustaceans, shrimps and crabs. Here it probably sensed that there's such a shrimp or a little crab under this piece of rubber, and in a second you will see how it's going to cover this piece of rubber quite effectively with its webbing to take care of the escape routes. The webbing has already really widened, and it decided that this is where it wants to hunt, and it's using its webbings to make sure none of the little crustaceans below it can get away. And you saw this jerking movement here, and that's when it probably caught something. With a powerful brain and 8 arms, which are active at the same time, this animal is a successful hunter. A lot of cephalopods grow very fast, and then they only mate once. So there's really no room for error during the phase where they weight gain. I've only seen this animal a few times in thousands of dives. Again, you can see how each arm is probing the sand for anything worth hunting. Interestingly, I filmed this during a night dive, as I mentioned, and you can see a lot of snow, which are small crustaceans, tiny shrimp, which are attracted to my video light. Now, what do we have here? This is a case of invertebrates killing a vertebrate. So this large overgrown thing in the middle here, this is actually a cone snail. Now, these cone snails have this harpoon in their tongue. Essentially their jaw has been formed into this harpoon, and they're highly venomous. So this cone snail hit a flounder, a leopard flounder, and you can see the fish curved here, the upper side of the fish facing to the right. And then this cone snail is not the only one eating the fish it has killed. So there are these murex snails, which are essentially scavengers, which are profiting from the kill of that large, dangerous cone snail. And the area where this happened was full of these murex snails, which I assume had smelled the kill. And here again you can see the pattern on the top side of that flounder very nicely. And all these murex snails were converging onto that kill to get a bite of that juicy fish, which a much larger and much more dangerous snail had killed for them. So more invertebrate predation here. And with a predator being a snail and a victim a fish. Now, this is a very interesting example of a failed act of invertebrate predation. So there is a snail. You see the proboscis coming out. I believe this might be hemicassis, this snail. And it's trying to get to a sea cucumber. And the sea cucumber is having none of it. So there are these cuvarian tubulus, which are these sticky threads which are actually coming out of the anus, but they're part of the digestive system. So they're very, very sticky, and there's anecdotal evidence, at least, that they contain some fairly effective neurotoxins. So here that tube just got detached from the sea cucumber, but these tubules, these strands are so nasty and noxious that the snail decided to give up, and it actually did not continue attacking this sea cucumber. So another example of invertebrate predation, but it just didn't work. Now this is an apex predator, believe it or not. This is a helmet snail, the so-called cassis. I've made a really interesting interview with an expert on that animal. I linked to it, and it has just devoured one of these hard urchins. So these are these sea urchins which are usually dug into the sand, and the cassis seems to be feeding on them. So very often when I see one of these helmet snail, it's surrounded by dead, newly dead and broken up urchins. Now, I hope you enjoyed this. Check back soon. Okay, now that you've made it that far, thank you for watching my videos. I think they are educational. I hope they're sometimes entertaining and funny. So there are a couple of things of how you can support the channel, which is, like, share these videos on your own social media. If you want to directly contribute to my filmmaking here underwater and on land in the Philippines, travel vlogging, I put my PayPal link in the description. Also, I have a couple of books out which you might enjoy. So this is The Life of Gobies. Gobies are prominently featured on this channel, and there's a lot of extra natural history in this book, and I think there are very nice photographs by me and underwater photo legend Marty Snyderman. So get this, link is also in the description. Of course, there are 2 more books out, and one I can't physically show you because it's an ebook only. It's called Your Brain on Diving. It's about scuba diving physiology and how it interacts with your brain. So it's the neuroscience of scuba diving. And this is with Hübner in Germany, and yeah, you can order that. It's a good read, I think. It's scientifically very up to date, but there's no jargon, so the interested layperson will understand it. And coming out very soon will be 25 future dives. I wrote this with prominent coral biologist Sensei James Reimer and from the University of Syracuse. And this book talks about environmental problems in the ocean, and each environmental problem we explain via a dive briefing and a dive. So we, instead of doing like a beautiful dive to see sharks, we are doing a dive to see plastic in the ocean, or we're doing a dive to see bleached corals. So this should appeal to the diver, to the ocean lover, to the person interested in the environment. And yeah, check it out, coming out soon with Asian Geographic. And thanks for tuning in.